I do want to make it clear from the start that when Jesus gave that instruction regarding the travel, they didn't send their luggage on before them. Justin thought she was a get out of prison card somewhere. But it's a wonderful gospel. We're told in the first reading about Amos, who was content looking after the sycamores, looking after the sheep. And he's sent to confront those who are worshipping a foreign god. And it's not easy to correct people who are going astray. It's not easy for us when we find ourselves going astray. But it doesn't help when other people bring out your dirty linen, when other people try to bring you to shame because of something left over from your past, from your youth. I think we've all got skeletons in our closet that we really would like them to stay there. And certainly for those who bear the mark of Christ, hopefully we've known that forgiveness. And we hope that forgiveness is also practiced by others. And so maybe others disagree with us, but it's not an excuse for speaking bad about people, about something from decades earlier. And a prophet's job is difficult because it's not always easy to speak the truth, and it's not always easy to hear it. We're told the prophet's not recognized in his own country. That isn't why I came here. But it was difficult when I went back to St. Patrick's, Wellington, where I'd been baptized, where I'd made my first communion at 16 and ordained at 24. It always felt slightly uncomfortable when you saw parents well, not my parents, my dad didn't go much. My mother did, and my sister, but it was always difficult speaking to family. The gospel is so beautiful. That instruction, take nothing for your journey. A walking stick, you can take a walking stick. I think that would qualify as well. No food, no sack, no money. Just a pair of sandals. But the beauty is that poverty that Jesus is asking and demanding of his followers, he's asking them to depend totally and utterly on the generosity of strangers. And if you think about it, he's sending them to people who don't know the Lord. He's sending them to those who don't go to the synagogue, who don't say their prayers, who might not know the scriptures. But he's not saying, he's saying there's goodness in them. We might call it by a different name. So he's asking them to recognize goodness when they receive it from people we might think, well, they don't know Jesus, but they're living this life. And so I think Karl Rahner used to call them anonymous Christians. He wants them not to be self-sufficient. He wants us to be sufficient in the providence of God's great generosity. Carla Bellinger speaks about walking and working in solidarity with others. And so that's what he was asking them to do. Not to stand above them as better than, but to be in solidarity with. And that lovely hymn that we sing so often during Lent about let no one walk alone. And that's that solidarity, walking together. And he's aware, and certainly we priests need to be aware of how easy it is to become too proud, and forgetting where goodness and truth and beauty come from. Acknowledging that we are earthen vessels made of clay, fragile, but filled hopefully with God's grace. So it's God's grace that we're giving and sharing with people. And in having that response, not going somewhere and being better than the sage of all wisdom, but acknowledging that together we can work in response to so great an invitation to know, to love, and to serve God. And we're reminded by Paul in that beautiful second reading that each one of us has been chosen and that we can accomplish great things through him. And so just as the students of Jesus were sent out and asked to depend on the people, hopefully we too realize what gifts other people bring to us. I've often talked about working in a men's prison in London, which I did as a counselor, not a chaplain. And I love that work. And I was always amazed that these men, and yes, some of them had done atrocious things, but of course, never beyond the love and the mercy of God. And I was always amazed that they could develop such trust that they could really share what was in their hearts, that they could acknowledge, not all of them, but many could acknowledge when they have somebody that's able to listen and to hear and is endeavoring to be the face, to reflect the face of God for them, that their stories can be heard. And when our stories are heard, we're no longer in isolation. We're in solidarity with others who share that same view that each has our story. It's to be told, it's to be shared, it's to be valued, because that story is the story of God's love for us. And so when a story that might be horrendous and painful, when it's shared, we discover it doesn't have to be the end. It's the beginning of the realization that each and every one of us are called and chosen. And that is the real image in the face of God. Please like, subscribe, or comment below.